Dane County District Attorney says there is an increased fear in the county of mass deportations. He says he is committed to supporting people of all backgrounds. DA Ishmael Ozan says the right to safety, peace, and dignity is a fundamental value of the Dane County government. Ozan says no matter who someone is or where they come from, they are working to make Dane County safe for everyone. Back in 2021, they say they created a certification review policy that helps qualifying applicants have a path forward to permanent lawful residence.
No one should feel the need to compromise this right due to their fear of removal or separation from their loved ones if they cooperate with our office.
The district attorney's office is separate from federal government. They are not immigration enforcement, but they remain vigilant in their mentality that a lack of status should not mean lack of justice.